These rows of surrendered rifles represent the absolute scale of Pakistan's defeat in 1971. By August 1972, the war had been over for 8 months, and the guns had officially fallen silent. Diplomacy had taken over. India and Pakistan had signed the Shimla Agreement, establishing a formal framework for peace and the legal repatriation of thousands of soldiers. In a prison camp in Rawalpindi, Flight Lieutenant Dilip Parolkar and his fellow Indian pilots were no longer under the threat of interrogation. As officially recognized prisoners of war, they were technically just waiting for the administrative paperwork to clear so they could go home. But despite this protected status, Parolkar and 2 others spent their nights huddled in the back of their cell, slowly scraping a hole through a brick wall. It was a massive gamble. If caught, the act of escaping would strip them of their protections and leave them facing a firing squad. Parolkar viewed the delay not as a bureaucratic formality, but as a period of extreme vulnerability. He believed that as long as they remained behind bars, their lives were subject to a political process they couldn't see or control. To ensure they wouldn't be left behind, they decided to stop waiting for a rescue and start engineering one. The physical barrier was cell number 4's back wall, a solid expanse of brick. The pilots had no tools, no outside help, and were under constant observation by prison guards. Their first move was a psychological bluff. The pilots intentionally stopped shaving, allowing their facial hair to grow until they could reasonably request a pair of grooming scissors from the guards. Those small scissors, paired with spoons stolen from the mess hall, became their excavation kit. Every night, they used them to slowly pick away at the mortar between the bricks. The digging created a constant stream of debris. To hide the dirt and crushed brick, they used the cardboard boxes from their Red Cross care packages. They would fill the bottom of a box with excavated material and cover the top with trash, allowing them to store the evidence of their work in plain sight. Every morning, they performed a meticulous reset. They restocked the loose bricks, smoothed over the gaps, and pushed their beds back to hide the hole from the guards' daily inspections. The escape wasn't built on advanced technology, but on the ability to hide a slow, messy demolition within the predictable routines of prison life. Mapping the route home was challenging. The path east to the Indian border was too heavily fortified to cross undetected. Instead, they looked northwest toward Afghanistan. Reaching the border at Torkham meant neutral ground, where Pakistani authorities had no legal right to seize them. Parolkar secured a map by tricking the camp commandant. He claimed he was planning a celebratory vacation to the 1972 Munich Olympics for after his release, and the commandant, believing the lie, provided an atlas to help him plan his trip. On the night of August 13, under the cover of a massive rainstorm, Parolkar and 2 others crawled through the hole. A 4th pilot stayed behind, stuffing pillows under blankets to create dummy bodies that would fool the guards during the morning head count. The trio made it to Peshawar and prepared to take the final train to the border at Landi Khana Station. But they were working from an atlas that didn't account for local history. The Landi Khana Station had been closed since 1932. A flawlessly executed physical escape was brought to a halt because of a single 40-year-old piece of missing information. Stranded and searching for a train that didn't exist, the pilot's questions and broken Urdu drew the attention of the locals. They were quickly surrounded and handed over to the police, who held them at gunpoint. Parolkar tried one last bluff, aggressively claiming they were Pakistani Air Force officers on leave. He demanded the police call the prison commandant to verify his story. While the call revealed their true identities, it also forced the police to return them to the official military system, rather than taking immediate, unofficial action on the street. Following their recapture, the pilots spent several months in solitary confinement. However, by December 1972, the official repatriation process was complete. They were put on a train and finally crossed the Wagah border back into India. This outcome, a safe diplomatic return, makes the initial escape attempt look like an unnecessary risk. If the system worked, why did they need to dig through the wall at all? The answer lies with the men who didn't come back. Despite the official exchange, 54 Indian prisoners of war from that conflict never reached the Wagah border. They vanished into the Pakistani prison system and were never heard from again. For 50 years, their families have faced a wall of silence. Scattered reports from journalists and released detainees have described missing Indian soldiers being held in secret wards long after the war ended, some suffering from the long-term effects of isolation and torture. Dileep Parulkar acted on the calculation that in the aftermath of war, a prisoner is a bargaining chip, and bargaining chips can be lost or discarded. By breaking out of cell number 4, he and his men ensured they would return as survivors, rather than becoming names on a list of the missing.